to make it to the grand finals or have to play for that last chance major. Shattered Slabs, we've been tuning into this. Quickly celebrating, but the battle isn't over just yet. They still have to take down Vortex. He immediately gets on out, making that one control underneath his own. Teeks go ahead and fights back, stealing it in the blink of an eye, continuously backing down Vorteca, depending on how much he farmed up. This is going to be a battle that you want to end quickly. For Vorteca, you need to figure out how you're going to separate your two opponents into two separate 1v1.
Yeah, they are hungry for this one. I don't think he'll get a chance to do that. They are really on it. And they will pick it up. And they'll laugh on him as well, just to rub some salt in the wound.
And typically you see the havoc, but you're seeing the drama and the damage it does when you're in close proximity, especially if you get caught.
Especially in NA, man, the drum off-screen has been crazy, hasn't it? We've seen so many fantastic plays being made. It's not often the weapon of choice you see from the top players, but it's definitely got its use.
Just getting more and more aggressive over towards Genjutsu Crossing. They've had enough of that split drop, especially with another team landing in that direction. Giving away some of that loot. They probably said, who's over here? Who's landing at Genjutsu? Is it something they feel brave going up against? I think the answer is yes, but they need to be careful because Peyton Party is another team below Genjutsu Crossing, probably minimizing the amount of audio that they're giving up. So Bugha and Threats need to watch out.
This is such a messy situation. All three teams just sort of posted up, waiting for the other to do something.
Typically, you don't really see this towards maybe the later zones, zone 6, 7, where everybody's kind of forced to play the waiting game for the team in front of them to move. That's just eyeing. See some players over towards the gas station. My only question is, do they know Pate and Cardi are there at the low ground? Saw on the feed that Peterbot was picking up some eliminations. And I think Poyo and Speaks heard that battle, heard the noise going down. You can see them trying to rotate in the direction. Peterbot takes a massive shot. Sphinx trying to follow up onto that one. Immediately tries to get in the box, but you see him playing very, very calculated, not biting off more than he could chew. And in the minimap, you see not only a third party closing in on the distance, but you see the solo, the player that they left a solo early on in the game, trying to figure out if he can get his teammate back, if it's worth it, or if it's better off playing as a solo. Back and forth. Nobody wanted to back down just yet, especially for Larson and Peterbot, who've actually been having a great day when it comes to these off-spawn battles. So I don't think they're approaching this one any different than they have so far. Larson just trying to make sure to stay with Peterbot. That way, if they try to break into a box like this, they try to take a 2v1, but out of nowhere, a mammoth shot stops them in their tracks. Peterbot's forced to back up, play a little defensive. Larson's doing a good job of aiding to him, and he's backing down yet another opponent, but they need to figure out how to get in the same box. Continues as Poyo and Sphinx stabilize themselves. They took a deep breath in that moment. They're trying to formulate some sort of strategy, disengage, continue fighting. Same thing over on the side of Larson and Peterbot. You see that third party getting a little bored, looking all directions. Larson continues to trade for shots, but he's on the receiving end of most of that damage. Sphinx trying to drop them into the palm of their hands. Nothing is really working out for either one of these two teams just yet. They're just very, very persistent, not wanting to give it up. More big pots for Larson, so this is the max amount of health he's going to have from this stage forward. Now that third party, I talked about them getting a little bit bored, a little bit impatient. See them slowly moving up.
Yeah, look, enough of the play fighting, lads. Let's really jump in. Let's get involved. Let's get the action, yeah? None of this tickling business. Let's start throwing bangs right now. Let's throw punches. Yeah? Is that going to happen? It seems like it. Peterbot trying to get in a bit closer, but Poyo and Sphinx deciding, look, no more of this. We don't want to actually fight. We will scurry away.
I honestly think they won that as well. If you had to put a victor on that fight, I think they did. They traded with Larson and Peterbot much more. They got them expend their big pots. So for Poyo and Sphinx, they got their damage, and now they're just trying to play the rest of their game. I talked about Peterbot getting the first elimination. Who would have guessed? Wavy Jacob caught off guard with the Mammoth. And that's when Poyo and Sphinx heard it and started to engage. Rise and Yamzo fighting over for the cash against Bucky and Okus. Just judging yet again another game without the vault loot. There's extra 3 points on the side of Rise and Yamzo. So this is what they're left to do to get those slurps, to get the rest of their arsenal, is fight for the caches or anybody else's that they see nearby. Caches popping, Rift Island being a possibility here soon. Seeing a lot of teams trying to cement their position before that is the case, so that way they're healed up and they're ready to contest it if they want. It's Bacon and Moo. Or just Bacon in this scenario is a solo. You see him trying to just get out of here. So that way he can try to get his teammate back as soon as possible. Get any extra loot that he can as well. This is a massive weekend for Bacon and Moo. They have one of the toughest roads to the grand finals if they see themselves there.
It's not just about seeing themselves there, though. It's about materializing that, right?
Yeah. Jacek and User. They already have one elimination in this game. It's a little bit of a boast of confidence, but judging by everything else, you see the material very, very low. We'll go ahead and toss it over to Mini to see what they've been doing up until this point and if it's worked out.
Well, Jacob, they've been switching up drop spots all over the place. Reminder, this team need a top 13 in order to qualify to grand finals. They switched drops, actually, in game number 3 towards that southwest side of the map, but now they're back to their original drop spot, and as you can see on the screen, it's working out. They picked up that early elimination. They've got themselves a heisted Breacher shotgun as well, so they're looking good on the loot department. And, of course, because they need those extra placements, those extra eliminations, they're being a little bit more aggressive right now. We're seeing them push for positions. We're seeing them go for more aggressive surge tags and, of course, aggressive fights. I'm excited to see if this duo can do it because they've got it all to do.
Thank you very much for the update, Mini. Look, the big problem I have is that in a clutch situation where you need everything to go right, top 13 is not easy in this lobby. If you are changing up your drop spot, something so drastic in your game plan, that to me is a sign of uncertainty, a sign of a lack of confidence in your ability to make things work with what you are used to. And sure, they have switched back, but that's going to be a roadblock for them. Clearly, they are in their own heads, and they are really very much almost panicking, right, and trying to find any sort of solution that will push them into the top 13.
Yeah, those are the things that we talk about when players switching drop spots, switching game plans. We've seen it actually, I feel like this season more so than ever, that when you switch up from what you're used to, it doesn't necessarily work out. It's Donnie and Problem, they're trying to switch it up. One of the first teams here. Haven't really seen them on Rift Island for a couple of games now, but Muzz and Paper have entered the mix. They already have 2 eliminations, and they're trying to beat one of the first teams there. Just like you have 2 on top of Rift Island, 1 looking like they're trying to figure out their plan and way up. 3 more teams directly towards the left. So I feel like this has the potential to be a much more active Rift Island fight than we've seen up until this point. No one's really wanting to contest them. Especially, I feel like, since they already know the team's up there, they've been capturing it for a while. They may think it's a moot point. Mazega and Cal Messi just trying to rotate. When it comes to Storm Surge, they're definitely not in a feeling of comfortability. Especially add on the fact that no way to go up over 150 effective shield and HP due to the lack of big pots, which means they're one-shotable with that Mammoth. As Miro and Cooper, we tune in as they quickly finish that fight against Vanilla and Convict. It's 131 aboard Storm Surge threshold. I see a team boxed up. You can almost guess more times than not that is a loot cache. So you can see them probably thinking about the idea. Do we want to go and try to rotate in that direction, get some scraps, anything that we've worked with? And Miro's probably way ahead of you. Says, yeah, come join me. That even gives them a potential flank on that team if they forget that they're there.
I like the intention here. Could pay off. No, but they are well aware. It's fine though. Trying to wrap around the other side of the zone.
Corner goal, just playing defensive, waiting for the perfect moment to compete. Misses the shot, but I love the effort. Doesn't scare OMG, Me Too, or PAL one bit. They're ready to fight. In order to be the best, you have to beat the best. And yet on the fact that Storm Surge is also forcing this altercation. OMG Me Too taking so much damage. Storm Surge itself is beginning to tick in, and as soon as he peaked, he got fired back upon by Acorn and Cold. They have timing on their side. The longer this one takes, the more probability of them having the success. He continues to peek through. Pow not finding any sort of shot to scrape through. Storm Surge continuously draining their shields. Pow gets back down once again. Acorn and Cold, the defensive masterclass here as they fight from the low ground.
Cold heard me calling the Omzo the best player in the world and said, oi, 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 don't forget about me, yeah?
Have you not seen what I've done already in my career? Especially at the grandest stage of the FNCS Invitational, that 1v2 to bring his former duo Scented back into the game and get that top 3 placement. But instead of top 3, Cold and Acorn looking for that #1 spot. As another team strolled their way and continue to play defensive, keep themselves low. That one ends. And now it's TK and Jackson, who are also hurt. With a solo towards the low ground that got taken down, and OMG Me Too, Acorn and Cold are going to at least get one of those 2 eliminations. Pressure being felt right now from the Heat and Skittles. Still outside his zone towards Creaky Compound. Cheeky play, try to some destruction through the builds. Up and over with that zip line. That's J6. That's User on the other side, who immediately disengaged. Miniminer broke down the importance of their day, especially with a slow start in the first 3. These last 3 need so much. The V just takes down Tavern in the distance, and he has to rotate in that direction anyway.
It's just become such a normal occurrence, seeing plays like that.
This is one of the riskiest paths I've ever seen anybody take.
good.
It's chopped down, right?
Yeah, he made sure to build above the water in case he got chopped out.
Nice plays with that breach, or just continue to break the build, not allowing Lawrence time to get that revive off on his teammate, kind of leaving him hanging. But it's almost a must if he wants to try to survive, get some points underneath their belt. Fortunately enough for Tavern and Lawrence, it's almost mathematically impossible for them to reach the grand finals, so it's practice for them going into that last chance.
So many mats as well from that. I wonder, I hope Tavern dropped his mats to his teammate before he left, but from how many mats you got, I don't know if you did. Maybe he did. Maybe he was also cat mats as well, but either way, a nice in from them to pick up Tavern in the zone.
Crazy right now with Rise down. Look at their loot, no vault. Almost seems like no weapons cache unless they use those slurps early on. Just 4 big pots, which require a good amount of time, especially when you're under pressure. So for Yamzo, you called him the best player in the game at this point, and this is his chance as a solo to try and prove it.
Mud sliding his way on in. And past some players here as well. Needs to be careful though, as there are players to the side who look to try to take shots at him. As he runs in here, not much HP and not much he can actually do about it. The big pots will get him back up to a good spot in his shields, but the pressure coming through probably won't allow him to actually be able to do anything. And quickly disposed of here.
Okay. Let's see who we need to watch with the Mammoth. Been hitting quite a few headshots so far. Trashy goes down. Judging by the 2 eliminations, they might have got both on that respective duo. You can see them using all those mats that they just got, building up, and then refreshing their metal. Just trying to make sure that they're ready for this endgame, especially since a lot of the teams have already rotated the zone. If they get held out, they want those mats to hold on as much as possible and not get kind of drained. Places. All that's needed for Mud Hut Boy and Chris. For Mud Hut Boy, almost had the Cinderella story last season. In almost qualifying in a 1v1, he went down at the tail end, and it cost him everything. He's looking for redemption now.
Yeah, redemption for them comes in the place of 36th place today in order to qualify for the grand finals.
Antiques mini miner broke it down. Slow start to the day, but so far it is looking good. But I don't want to speak too soon. 27 teams still alive. 2 more need to go down before the first inkling of placement points begin to set in. Then begins the cascade from there. For every duo you do survive. And for Penta and Teaks, they need, I feel like, to start building that confidence here. They need to start getting into those top 15s, into those top 10 placements.
They're close. Won't take much in this game, and they definitely have a loadout good enough to push their way there. Bucky and Okus this game will be looking for a bit of revenge. Of course, second place can sometimes sting and burn. They're so close to touching that victory royale. They'll be pushing to try and get back there. Vive and Skittles may just be pushing to get back on the hype. Their best game came playing from that layup. And with a breach shot, it's always possible to take it.
Just making sure that all these builds are his and his alone. Doesn't want to get any surprise for somebody that peeks through. He is on that ultimate low ground along with Skittles. He has TK and Jackson right above. Donnie also rotating by, but Donnie is a solo, much less to worry about. Even the potential to get taken down, and if Vive and Skittles spot him out as a solo as they continue to move forward, trailing behind TK and Jackson. A lot of these builds have the potential to be recycled, and as they get lower and lower on that low ground, Vive and Skittles could use that as an opportunity to go.
Yeah, you can see him making sure to stay a bit higher up here, not fully committing to playing low just yet. Understandably so. If there's an opportunity to play for height, they will, but Bucky and Okus will be the ones to hold on to it. In the meantime, for first movement, let's see how they do holding it. Ooh, that's a fork in the road. Of even Skittles, who probably would have tried to play for height, have run into a bit of a roadblock. Aviv goes down, and that just leaves Skittles left as a solo with 17 bills left. I'll tell you what, I doubt there's going to be many high ground plays made from him.
Yeah, and it's just, when it rains, it pours. He has literally the farthest pull in the lobby as a solo. Not a lot of builds. He has his work cut out for him. It's Quesito. Just trying to go ahead and have some sense of that high ground. We talked about the importance of staying away from anywhere that is that low ground, especially as the zone continues to pull up and over mountains, making it harder for players to kind of have a lot of those materials in the end game. Penta and Teeks do a good job of taking down Age and Jeff, and they steal away all his
This is
loot.
so good. 22 points for this team. They're edging closer and closer to what you'd assume would guarantee them the top 45 that they need. Already sitting comfortably right now in the top 20, and so realistically, it's looking very good. And every second that passes by, every team that falls is just adding and adding to that point tally and to what will be a slot in the grand finals for this team. Penta and Tex, almost a bit of a victory lap endgame for them. Even as Penta falls here, Tex is still going to be in a good spot to just try hold on.
I feel like haven't seen too much of Threats and Booga in the end game. Just a sour rotation. They get taken down with a lot of that elevation as Kanata and Aters. 3 eliminations so far as Teeks and Penta go down, but a top 15 placement at the bare minimum. Great amount of placement points being picked up. Same could be said for Chris, trying to put himself at the top of the leaderboard after 4 games.
Chris, not an easy spot to be in, but they've been good so far today, and they'll need a good solo performance to continue that run. And this is really nice from the pressure he's putting onto Pars and Baka there is unbelievable. They can barely handle it. He might pick up a limb as a result of it. Yeah, Baka will fall, and he gets the credit for it. And maybe another one will be added. Reet very low, and Reet gone back to the lobby. Putting in that work before falling.
That was big. That was a huge amount of points for Chris as a solo. Got to be getting a round of applause from his teammates. But TK, Jackson both go down. Bucky and Okus, they're the team highest above the ground. And you see them looking below. Kanata and Agers, they're weak, but they're still standing tough and inch themselves into the top 3.
How much more are they going to be able to do when Bucky and Okus are looking so strong? The Mediness and the Slur, if the heal off is needed, but I don't think it will be. They can just wrap up the game right here. Look at all these players stuck in a bit of a ditch. They can just sit above and pressure. Not many materials in hand, but the zone pulling in their favor, trapping these guys down below. Aegis has no chance of getting up. He's just gonna have to stand there in the zone and let it take him away. Okus and Bucky with the easiest win they will get in their lifetimes.
From Rift Island to taking the game overall, they even have a 2nd place on the day as well. They're using this day as practice. They are going ahead and solidifying every single move that they want to make, and they are just completely taking over. It's shots like that. He put the pressure on the Muzz, easily cleaned that one up, and even took down Paper's health, setting him
that
to the low
level to
ground.
Muzz was so crucial. That duo was going to be one of their biggest competitions in that game. Muzz and Paper was so stacked. They were sitting high up on good layers, and to sneak in that headshot there, really nicely done. That is a tough game. And look, in the end, it is duos, but they had a teammate in the end game. The Storm was on their side, and it allowed them to sit back and relax as they won that game. It pulled up the hill. Nobody had a chance of getting up. Easy as it gets for that duo.
Yeah, but it's not easy for everybody here in the lobby. With 4 games done, time is running out. We need help. We need Zeke and our analysts to break down the leaderboard and that last game.
Thank you guys so much. 4 games down here in NA. Only 2 more to go before that's it. The competition is over, and then we start focusing on grand finals next weekend. So you know the pressure is on for these duos. For Okus, for Bucky, 9 eliminations, the victory royale, and all from high ground. This one, I don't want to use the term free. It wasn't free. They obviously put in a lot of work, but from their perspective, it was probably like, yeah, all right, sweet. Father Mao's gonna help us. Let's go.
They just had the God positioning at the end there with that zone pulling back in their favor over the hill. Just as Levin mentioned, you will never get an easier victory royale in your life. But again, them making it to that moment in the first place, it doesn't even look like it's easy necessarily for this duo, but they've just done such a great job at reading how the lobby was going to play out.
Yeah, exactly. And listen, I mentioned it before that this weekend is pretty much all about practicing for Bucky and Okus. We already know that they're already qualified through to the grand finals. They're just looking at today and they're like, listen, let's make sure that we have all of our strategies down so when it comes to grand finals, we know what we can do. And if they can replicate these types of strategies and performances in grand finals, then listen, we might be looking at the wrong teams to win it.
Yeah, and again, we're not trying to say this is easy by any means. They just made it look real easy. Now, I want to talk about the standings. There's only 2 games left once again, and now we are drawing ever closer to that finish line because of that game. Bucky, Okus, they have now overtaken that #1 spot. As Vid did mention, though, these guys are in the top 3 in the series point leaderboard, so they're going to grand finals. This is all about practice for them. Agers and Kanata there as well. They did make it to second place in that last game, so they'll get a nice chunk of placement points.
Yeah, and again, even though Bucky and Okus have the first place contention for the time being, with 2 games left to go, hard to count out some of these other powerhouse duos that we're looking at in our top 10. I mean, even in 8th place there, you see Ritual, you see Reet sneaking their way into the top 10 of the 8th place, 6 placements climbed overall, but it would be a pretty tough feat. But again, Victor Rouse being worth so much, a little bit of objective points on your side, and who knows, you might just sneak your way into the top 3 too.
Yeah, now it'll start to, bring up the point in conversation here whether we'll have to take some of these performances with a grain of salt. Like, who's, out of all these teams that are already qualified to grand finals, do they really want to keep playing their hearts out? Do they really want to start, revealing some of these strategies that we know that they can already do so well? Might just be a little bit repetitive at this point. So, I'm talking about like Yamzo and Rise dropping down the leaderboard a little bit. Some of that stuff might be them being a little bit conscientious of the fact that we do have grand finals.
Yeah, they're just trying to chill, right? They're just trying to say, like, hey, look, if we know we're good, let's just keep playing, and let's try to, like, I would even say, like, solidify our drop spots, right? Let's make sure that we own these places, so in grand finals, ain't no one looking to try and contest us, because we will lock it out. I'm also thinking about duels like Aviv and Skittles, right? These guys have been putting on a performance for us here this week specifically, and we've seen it even a couple times, them on high ground. They seem to, like, they're pulling out all these little things in the playbook, and that's kind of like what I like to see.
Well, like, every team is aware of the fact that when it comes to competitive Fortnite, high ground is your key to finding those victory royales. We've already seen Aviv and Skittles as well win a game earlier today off of that high ground feature. So it's not that it's necessarily a guarantee, though. That's the problem, is that so many teams have been having issues as far as builds are concerned, and even sometimes when we see teams on height, whether they're controlling the height, the main factor is just making sure that you're suppressing all those lower layers, because again, high ground teams are also having some issues with getting those refreshes that they need of materials, because everyone in the lobby is just running low.
Yeah, and one of the teams that I want to talk about, or, solos, I guess, in this instance, was Chris towards that end game right there. We've been talking about Mud Hut Boy needing that 36th place to go ahead towards grand finals, and with Chris's solo clutch that game, I'm pretty sure they've done it.
I mean, they're feeling good about that. Again, there's these duos. Most of these guys in even just the top 10. I actually want to flip over the top 20 while we continue this conversation, but most of these duos are already in grand finals. There's only a handful that are just desperately trying to get those last little bits of series points to ensure they do make it to grand finals. I mean, look at these names, man. Again, like, this is basically grand finals already, Taco.
We're saying basically grand finals, but I'm looking at that 13th placement, because right now it belongs to Donnie and Problem. Keep in mind, Donnie and Problem, they can't qual to grand finals. This is essentially practice, I think, leading in to that last chance major for them. But who needs 13th place in order to progress to grand finals? That's Moo, that's Bacon, that's JSIC, and HD. And it's just not going to be easy at this point, I believe, with 2 games left. A little bit of pressure on right now for some of those teams that were on the bubble, needing strong performances today to progress forward.
Yeah, and specifically talk about Moo and Bacon. They did need a 13th place coming into today. They currently reside in 31st place. So, I mean, I think it's still possible if they have some really good games in games 5 and 6. But another duo that I wasn't necessarily seeing towards that top 5, we talked about them, Swexy and Omizi. They needed an 8th, and they're like nowhere even near like top 30 right now. So might be an unfortunate circumstance for that duo.
Look, I think anything is possible, right? If Fortnite has taught us anything, it's it takes one game and suddenly you're up 35, 45 placements. You just need to have the game of your life, and you need to do it in the next 2 games. And it looks like, especially out of the top 20, 17 of the duels are already going through to grand finals. So I don't know what's happening. A lot of it's practice. A lot of it's just trying to solidify strategies. I just want to see more kind of come out, especially with 2 games left to go. I'm just hoping we see something interesting that we haven't seen quite yet.
I mean, again, there's a lot of options here. I think teams can definitely make it happen, but I'm kind of with Vivid on this one, where I'd expect some of our higher-end duos to not necessarily be wanting to give away anything that they would want to actually utilize in grand finals.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I want to see Bucky and Okis go back towards Rift Island.
I'm down.
Saw them do it in game number 3, and it worked out really, really well then. So let's see that come out again.
All right, you guys have convinced me. We can save the secret strategies for grand finals. Fine. But you know what we have time for right now? It's more games. Game number 5 is upon us, so let's kick it right back over to Casters to take us in.
Thank you so much. In game number 5, this is a pivotal moment for some. You don't want to leave it to game 6, the last chance and moment you have to qualify for that grand finals. It's going to be a huge moment for some of these teams.
Yes, it's a big final 2 games. To think we are literally 2 games here away from the NA Grand Finals of Major 3. It's a huge moment. Let's take a minute to pause, slow down, take it easy. Because if you are one of these teams that is so close to putting yourself in that prime position to be able to play in that Grand Finals, these 2 last games, they mean everything to you right now.
Yeah, we talked about some of those teams needing a big performance. With the way Aiden and Hound have been playing up until this point, I feel like it's almost safe to say they have got their ticket to the grand finals of Major 3, but there's so many teams still fighting tooth and nail to get their own spot. Game number 5 starts now.
Who else will book their ticket to the grand final? These last 2 games are going to be the ones that either make or break it. We've seen some players already put in performances that you'd think would push them into that safety zone on the series points leaderboard. But to be safe, you want to add a bit more to the tally here in 5 and 6. Don't want to let it slip out of your hands. 2 games can change everything in the standings if they don't go your way. So we'll closely keep our eye on all those different teams, Jacob. For the teams who maybe are those safe, has anybody caught your eye? Is anybody looking hot going into the grand finals that you're excited to see?
I mean, I had a list of people, but somebody I didn't expect to get on my list, he actually got put there after that last game, is Bucky and Okis. I think they've one of the teams that is not scared to fight anybody, no matter who it is. If they want something, they are going to go for it. Of course, we have our usual suspects, Ryzen, Yamzo, Kanata, Agers, Booga and Threats, as Cardi and Pate. They take a bunch of damage, but we got a huge switch up here, Levin. A big switch up. Rapid and Batman Booga leave Mega City and go over to Kenjutsu, and already they got one. Even in the feed, Jeff is taking down Epic Will. We're having a huge blunder of mishaps, or not even mishaps, but change-ups in this game.
What's going on? I ain't got a clue. But I know I like it because there's action going on and people going down in the feed, so something good must be happening. Rapid and Batman Booga causing issues here at Kenjutsu, and we're used to seeing a Booga do damage here at Kenjutsu, but it's not typically the Batman Booga. It's usually, you know, World Cup champion Booga that we're used to seeing fighting here, but no, things are changing. And unfortunately, it's for the worst here for Pate.
This is scary, though. This is scary. Peyton Cardi still need an estimated 29th place on the day, and getting dropped off spawn is not what you want to have happen in Game 5. This is what I was talking about, leaving it to Game 6, the last moment where you have to play as close to perfect as
That
possible.
is tough. Last game's going to be the decider for that duo, I guess.
Second kicks. We saw them away from Lonely Labs last game. This time around, they're returning, trying to take back what was once theirs against Fusiak and Jasper. No more smooth sailing, no more uncontested for you. Kind of look at the loadout though. They're primed and ready, but they're separated. That's the only thing that worries me is Fusiak just continuously trying to put shots through the builds. His teammate Jasper just gets dropped down to just 50 HP. And now Kix is trying to see that as a sign of weakness, using the flapjack to break into the box. Doesn't find success, so is forced to disengage momentarily. It's unfortunate. Unfortunate because they almost had him. They almost had him in the palm of their hands as Yusuf going up against Thork and Bolts yet again. They claimed this spot long ago as their own. Said they're fighting anybody who dares contest them. And that's something we've seen week after week after week. And this one is no different. With the first elimination picked up, you can see that Solo beginning to just run away. Kind of started. He's safe. Oh no.
Wait. Oh my god, he's cooking. Oh my gosh, he's cooking. What?
I love to talk and I feel like I'm speechless right now. That's got to give Bolts a huge amount of confidence. That's something we're probably going to see clipped and shown around later as Aviv and Skittles continue to fight anybody in their path. And you're seeing how their early game starts. A little bit of a contested drop just north of Brutal Bastion. They take out the team. Now they're getting all their loot. Now they're comfortable when it comes to Storm Surge as well because those players did have shields, so it's over 200 damage when it comes to that threshold. Everybody's healed up. Round 2 starts. Kix just gets denied entry at the last end. They trade shots. Kix being persistent. Has to be careful though, because that piece is owned by Jasper. But the 2v1 from 2 different angles. That strength in numbers works out as they send him back to the lobby in Game 5.
Rise and Iomzo have not had the best last couple games, but there has been reason for that. Of course, we sort of picked up on it throughout the games every time we got a chance to tune into them, but they didn't seem to have the god loot we're used to seeing them have, and part of that is because the bot didn't spawn a couple games for them, so they weren't able to get the vote, and then they missed out on their cash a couple times as well. And don't get me wrong, there were a couple blunders here and there in terms of lack of awareness, getting headshot by the Mammoth a couple times, but here and there it's been pretty unlucky games for them, but hopefully these last couple will be back to their game 1 and 2 ways.
Just look at it from an optimistic perspective, glass half full of this is happening here in week 3. Now they're getting that practice of how to play without all that loot, without the vault, without the weapon cache. Kind of give them another angle to work with, and so far they've been finding quite a bit of success. Multiple second place finishes on the day. It's Poyo and Sphinx. Seen them in a lot of skirmishes. We talked about teams trying to defend their drop spot now that they not only have their grand final spot secured, but in terms of Poyo and Sphinx, they have their global championship spot secured as well.
Yeah, that is nice to know, especially doing it, being secured in the upper bracket, right? You almost get those, you get the 2 chances, the 2 different lobbies you get to play out if the first one goes awry, that is. So we'll have plenty of opportunities come time for global championships, but of course the focus will be on this grand finals and what they can do here.
This is a big battle. Blue and Bacon. If there's any time to pick up the pace, it's in these next 2 games. They definitely have a juggernaut team right in front of them. Poyo and Sphinx, the one we were just talking about. This is going to be a very, very risky fight if they do want to take it. Over here towards Rumble Room, you see Mood trying to disengage, calling for Bacon to follow. This isn't a position they feel comfortable in, so they're just going to go ahead and try to rotate on out. But as soon as they leave the ruins, Mammoth pistol yet again onto Moo. I don't know if Pollo knows that one had happened or not, but either way, he's seeing this as a green light to go. First piece is going to get stolen. Bacon doing a good job of aiding his teammate, backing down Pollo momentarily. Persistence is the name of the game, though. Pollo almost runs through him there with 130 damage. All of Bacon and Moo's heals are going right out the window.
Putting them to work right now, and we know how much better they have to start doing if they want to be playing in Grands. Pollo and Spinks are not going to really allow that to happen for free. Aiden and Hounds, another one of those teams that we're watching throughout the day, and they are currently performing way ahead of what's expected for them to be able to make it. And Aiden himself is currently performing way ahead of his typical level. That was a crazy shot.
That's huge. Aiden just continuously getting better, but every good run comes to an end. He takes a huge shot. 17 HP, continuously getting more than fighting the storm, and oh my gosh! What did we just witness out of Aiden? He just told you right then and there, I didn't come this far just to get this far. I want to go to the grand finals.
My mind is blown. Wow, Aiden, look at that smile on his face. He knows what he just did. We know what you are, Aiden. Oh my goodness.
Him. I can't believe what we witnessed. I feel like I've seen everything when it comes to Fortnite, and then I get proven wrong. This one was just magnificent. The double pump with the Mammoth. Floto got dropped quicker than anybody I've seen before. And then Aiden, the daring play. No HP. And we basically all or nothing in that moment, and he comes out on top.
That is just beautiful. Poetry in motion from Aiden there.
Never thought I'd witness such a thing. Gustavo and Ian, another team on the top of the leaderboard. Haven't really seen too much of them, but they're consistently getting early game eliminations, putting themselves in a prime spot to be at the top of that leaderboard. And I did see earlier on in the same game, Bucky did go down. We're glad to see him in the distance. He is back up. Ocus definitely putting himself to the test as Acorn and Cold are just looking around. They know other teams land in this position, particularly both Bucky and Ocus. But they're just hiding in the bush, waiting somebody to forget about the Mammoth pistol in this game. Some would say slow and steady wins the race. Can't argue too much, especially with how successful Acorn and Cold have been since the inception of this duo. But I feel like just looking at this, we know what's about to happen, how conditioned Bucky and Ocus have the lobby, sitting next to that rift, waiting for the island to spawn, and they want to be one of the first teams towards the top of it. They got first in that last game, and now they're trying to hold on to it. It's a waiting game for them down here.
I love that emote, man. You can just hear it in the back.
Just hear it in the distance. And then just seeing the little outline, they're just having the time of their life. They probably realistically know a team is down here, so that's why they're just kind of waiting for them to rift, and then they're going to go. They might not expect Bucky and Ocus to play a little bit more aggressive than some would say, but Ocus building up towards the top, so now his position has been revealed.
That's just too good, man.
Like this D-Roller. And Noxie only needed about a 45th place on the leaderboard today to get the grand final. So again, congratulations. See you there next weekend. All about trying to condition the lobby. You hear the rifts going off. That's Tavern and North trying to be one of the first teams there. D-Roller and Noxie as well. In the minimap, so many other teams as well, a potential threat.
How much space he's claiming. Doesn't want there to be any if, buts, or maybes about who captures his flag.
careful, though. He's going down the refarm. If he didn't get the memo that Tavern and Lawrence were there, he has to be careful. Now in comes Peterbot and Larson as well. They were a team that kind of started inside of the bubble, but had the potential to drop out. But on their performance on the day, it's almost safe to say it might be secured. Vanilla's still not backing down off this fight. Interesting decision for him to pick up the Mammoth and drop the Slurp. He wants to be able to pack a punch that much more.
Let's take a look at this. See, I was wondering why we didn't see Bucky and Okins just jump on Rift Island straight away, and it's because Convict and Vanilla's had something to say about it. Bucky taken out.
Only second time today, but we got so much action going down around the map, particularly with Moot and Bacon, who need a big day. Mini Miner, gonna throw it over to you to break down their performance so far.
Yeah, you mentioned it right there, Jacob. These guys need a big day. They need a 13th on the leaderboard. And going into this game in 31st, not been the best day for them so far. But this game, they're being very, very aggressive. They have it all to do. And we can see them here trying to go for this elimination. They don't quite connect, but they do get the refresh from, of course, that elimination that another team got. A beautiful pickup on that mythic assault rifle as well. And they try and seek out the teammate. And, of course, they do pick up the teammate as well. So a really nice couple of eliminations early on for this team, which is great to see. They need about 156 points to get that 13th place, so keep an eye out for this duo.
That is a huge mountain to climb, but I feel like anybody in their position would be up for the challenge. There's a huge difference between starting in the upper bracket, the potential if you qualify through Major 3, and starting in the lower bracket, which is what happens to anybody who qualifies through that last chance Major. As you see in the feed, Vanilla is going to take down Bacon. Hugan threats, just eyeing onto Zuko. They see the builds. They know somebody's there, and in their head, they probably think he is by himself. So this is a chance for them to not only pick up 2 points, Storm Surge and loot. Just like that, they make it look easy. Never hit the ground.
You said something last game that I very much agreed with, in that you wanted to see more from these two in endgame. We haven't quite really seen it. I think Booga and Threats are premier names of the region, but there hasn't been that standout performance that's made me think this season, hey, these guys could win the championship when it's all said and done.
Definitely a huge possibility. They still need their global championship spot. As Peterbot gets tagged up, Larson's there to edit him out and even fire back, trying to force his opponents into a defensive position. This D-Roller and Noxy as well, 2 teams both inside and outside of the bubble on the day. A momentous fight as they continue to try to fight for that elevation on the side of Peterbot, backing down his opponents. Doesn't know exactly where D-Roller's at, is peeking through the cone, hiding, even drops a layer for a short moment. Him and Noxy trying to get all that real estate towards the low ground. Finally, Peterbot gets that first piece under his control, but has to be careful. Larson's on the other side. He gets taken down. And that's just the risk you take of trying to enter 2 different angles as Peterbot continues to fire off. A huge shot's going to be landed. Another one goes down as D-Roller has left Noxy by himself. And I feel like this is the second time we've seen Peterbot in this.
Yeah, not again, Peterbot. Surely not another 1v2. Surely not Peterbot. So close, just a couple edits away. Can he connect to the shot? He's going for the peak for Peterbot. You can't keep doing this, son. You just can't. It's not fair. You shouldn't be winning 1v2s. He does it every time. Oh my golly gosh. Peterbot.
A perfect situation for him to clutch up. Took down D-Roller first. And just again, that's the second time in this game alone we've seen a team on the back foot and really push that fight and it finds so much success. Woo! Keep them coming. Keep the highlights coming.
That's what we're getting today. Highlight after highlight.
Down. A lot of teams still have to rotate in towards the zone. Going to be met with a few teams that have already beat them there. luckily for them, the landscape doesn't seem too drastic that we've had in some of our other games. Hold by himself. It's going to be tough. There's a couple of different teams here in this position, including the one that hit him with the elbow drop off the top rope. Pollo's just trying to go and continue this aggression. There's a full duo right in front of him. He's not backing down just yet until his pieces get stolen away. You can see why he's being so aggressive. 75 below the damage threshold. He knows it's almost now or never, especially with him being by himself. I wish he would pick up that mammoth and just eat the shieldfish. I feel like it's just get more out of it throughout the course of the game. Kanata and Agers. Solid performance so far on the day. Almost like a mixed bag, but just like everybody else, you travel in the open, you don't build, you're just susceptible to mammoth shots.
You know, these guys have been having a pretty decent season. They always had a good week. Second place in their Cash Cup wasn't too bad. So coming into this competition and heading into Grand Finals, I think definitely up there as one of the favorites to take it all here. Everybody wants to see Kanata do it. You know how confident he is in his own ability. And that shines through best when playing with Aegis.
Definitely up for the challenge. Continuously falling below, almost 100 more damage below than we last seen him. And a couple of cheeky shots, but still not enough to go above. But that one is definitely going to push him up that much closer. A steal below by 25. But at least it allows him to have a little bit of a breath of fresh air. He jumps into a box and he takes down Revise. That was a huge find because now he's going to get a huge amount of loot if he's able to clean this one up.
This is so awkward. You can see he's trying to get the loot, he can't get it. This is a run back into zone. There's a player there. And now he's forced into another fight. And he's only 27 HP. The zone's sticking 5 at a time. Needs to get this elim and fast. 124 to the dome. Definitely will help along the way. And the siphon coming in as Casca falls. And he had a slurp as well. Brilliant. But will Poyo be able to get in still? He's got quite a ways to go, Jacob.
Yeah, if we see him finding even more success here, we know what battle to pinpoint when he was a solo. Much like Agers here. Talked about a good game up until this point, but without Kanata, that puts a lot of pressure on the Agers as himself. But luckily, he isn't too far away from the zone, so as a solo, he's about a hop and a skip and a jump away. Combine that with the slap splashes, he'll be there in no time. Momentarily on the low ground as well. Definitely got an elimination. Aiden keeping up the pressure for early on this game. He took down Paper. Pollo still landing shot after shot around the lobby. This elevation, it's kind of just crushing people's hopes, dreams, and games. Ooh.
Oh, wow. Aviv. I mean, come on.
Definitely makes it look easier than some. The pressure has been turned on him.
Almost another one.
This is just some of the risk of just trying to spray a team. You got the timing right, like Aviv. You know exactly when to kind of pre-fire. We're finally getting what we want. We've talked about more Booga, more threats. Now they have a little bit of that high ground, but lack material. And that's why you see them sneaking around, trying to figure out which duo they can kind of catch off guard, so that way they can get even at the bare minimum siphon mats.
They might look to jump right into Jeff's box, but Jeff is there waiting.
Jeff and Gary, team forming. kind of practicing for that last chance major. Mathematically impossible for them as Buga and Threats find a little trap door and exit towards the bottom. Huge shot is going to be fired. He's trying to break into the box. He knows how important this siphon is. He needs the mats. He needs the resources. And down goes Tavern. All of that loot going on over to Buga. But it is the bare minimum when it comes to resources. And just like that, he's almost
But good news, Buga's clearly feeling it.
Feeling good, feeling all right. 5 eliminations just by himself. 7 total as a team as we continue to move into the top 16. With what little resources he has left, he finds some elevation. That can give him more information as he continues to look around the lobby. But now the pressure is on. He gets aggressed. Frox gets broken. His piece gets taken. He's scrambling around with no builds to his name to kind of figure out where he's going to find a shot. And it's Larson towards the backside of the zone that he peeks out first. Peterbot has no choice but to continue moving with the zone. So Larson doesn't have much help.
Oh, so unlucky. Doesn't have the HP to hold on. Ages in a similar boat. Aviv will pick up another. That's 4 so far this game. Skittles has dropped though, and so it's all up to Aviv and just these 2 remaining builds to make something happen. Now down to 1 as he looks to pop a big pot. Rising Yomzo though, on the receiving end of some pain, of some hurt, and really stuck in a tough situation here. This isn't the kind of control we're used to seeing them having. We like to see them on the front of the zone, claiming space, taking people out, but they're just gonna have to make this work, and they will as well. Rise picking up 1.
Yeah, good scramble. He's trying to keep himself ahead. No time to pop that big pot just yet. And even more so, Rise has to go ahead. Yamso doesn't have any builds, and just like that, to turn the corner. First of the big pot's gonna be popped. He sacrifices 10 HP to make that possible. He could not take another tick of the zone. Otherwise, he's gonna go down and leave Rise by himself.
Even as a solo, still fragging out a 8 limbs all by himself. I don't know how he's been able to do it so well to this point, but he's making it happen on his own pullback. We'll just give a bit more time for Yomzo to try dig in for some loot as Rise has finally fallen. And he has to go up and into the sights of Aviv, who we know is on a tear right now. He's going to choose to go the other way and take a different fight, but it will still be Aviv that is the lobby boss on the low ground. And he tried to do it again onto Jeff, but finally taken out.
Yep, the only duo that was in the lobby, almost inside of the top 10, Zukis and Kinzo, as they spot Asian Jeff down below and they take him out just like that. The double pump with the Mammoth to destroy the cover and the shot to seal the deal.
Zukis and Kinzo with another win that, when you look at it from their POV, it wasn't the most tough of victories. It was all the action below though that was really interesting to watch. Seeing all those different teams battle it out. These guys could just sit here and wait. So many different old builds being talked through. And they didn't really have much vision. They didn't have much room and much space to pick up limbs. And it's why it's only 2 limbs for them. But that's not too bad. If you told me you win a game in a lobby like this and all it takes was 2 limbs, I'm definitely taking it. Not bad at all from Kinzo and Zukis. But again, Jacob, it's all that action in between, all the things going on low and mid ground that are really going to be the talking points as we head into game number 6.
Yep, and you said it yourself, game 6 is right around the corner.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much. 1 game left to go. Man, NA has been wild, but as these guys call out, this last game was just chaotic, right? For Zuki's on the high ground and Kinzo, they're just thinking like, okay, what's the strategy? What do we got to do? They just look down, they're like, the lobby's gone. They've just eliminated each other. We'll get a Victor Royale. Still, a Victor Royale is a Victor Royale, so I'm still happy for the duo, but man, what a game.
As we like to call it, a little bit of method to the madness there for Zooks and Kenzo, because they chose to just not participate. And all of that mayhem unfolding below them, it looked like an absolute free-for-all lobby fest. So why get involved if you don't have to be? Just choosing to stick it out on the high ground where it's safe. Zuxo noticed that he had a decent amount of builds by the time they had control of that high ground later on, so definitely had to have been a prime opportunity. They were able to take advantage, dropping, as you can see here, to a lower height layer temporarily just to collect some spotted out, refresh it on materials and loot, which is a big possibility when there's so much chaos happening underneath them.
I mean, we're talking about them not getting involved, of course, in the elimination category for sure, but we saw it right there while they were on the high ground, just constantly spraying everybody that was below them. And unfortunately for all of those players that were on the low ground, most of them were solos, right? So materials were dwindling as a result of the high ground pressure, forced a lot of those fights. And I mean, Zeke, one of the players that took full advantage of that, Aviv.
Dude, again, Aviv's already in grand finals, right? You're already there. And a lot of these duos are already in grand finals, right? It's something like 30 teams or something like that we're seeing today are already going to grand finals. But to see Aviv put in that situation, like just imagine you and your duo go into a competition, one of you goes down, and that pressure is on. And Aviv's like, I'll just go get 10 elims. Sure, I don't know.
By the looks of things, it's almost as if Aviv and Skittles just woke up feeling a type of way for playing here tonight in Week 3 finals, because it was absolutely disgusting just watching him go box to box to box. It did not matter what was on the other side of any of these walls, who was around whatever corner he decided to traverse. He was going to find the closing shot for the eliminations necessary to win.
Yeah, I mean, it's just really just all about finding opportunities where other players are looking to, go box to box with somebody else. And he just always seemed like to just strike at the exact right moment. So the timing was there for him, and the aim was there for them. Just play this end game so well considering the circumstances. Again, one of those situations right there, we just saw it. Peterbot and Rokane were in the same box, trading shotgun shots, and Aviv's like, oh, hey, thank you for those.
I feel like, and maybe, and I could be off base, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like in a lot of ways, Aviv gives me, translated to EU, Vico vibes. Am I off base here?
I think in that particular instance, I can definitely see it when you think about some of the mechanical prowess that he had to display in order to capitalize on those instances, like Vivid pointed out, with just being aware of where everybody else is at.
That being said, if even Skittles sneak up in the first place, and honestly, Kanata and Aegis have had one heck of a day, Zeke. The fact that they've maintained towards the top of the leaderboard throughout the entire day, and I feel like they've kind of done it in a way that, it hasn't been highlight filled, right? They're kind of just playing their game.
Yeah, they're not really in the spotlight, are they? They've kind of been operating in the shadows in some way. But again, it feels like, this is happening all across the board. Just look at these lists of names, right? Aegis and Kanata, Bucky, Okus, Iamzo, and Rise, D-Roller. Like, these are names that, like, you could just be jumping around. And they're all just doing crazy stuff. Obviously, and that last one, we were just on Aviv. We were watching all of this transpire from his perspective. But many of these duos are absolutely stepping up in these moments, right? They're saying, we are grand finals material, and we're going to make sure that when you look at those standings, you're going to see our names.
And it really comes as no surprise either, knowing that it's Iamzo, it's Rise, it's another highlight feed of these two just absolutely tearing through all these low ground layers. And even what was mentioned during the interview earlier, you have to be so aware as a fighter in that space to truly dominate it. So Iamzo and Rise, it's just low ground is where they know how to operate every single time.
Yeah, and they keep getting it right. And another thing that I'm kind of noticing now, and a lot of other duos and solos in some instances seem to be picking up on it, is that there were a lot more flapjack rifles, I feel like, throughout the day. And we've talked about it week after week that Iamzo and Rise have used that mythic flapjack that they get from the vault, and they transfer that into the end game, and it applies so much pressure. And I feel like I've seen so much more pressure out of a lot of the teams today because, somehow they've managed to get those flapjack rifles into the end game too.
Absolutely. And we did see there on those standings the victory royale coming from the duo Zooks, Kinzo. Look at that, of 15 places. Friends, this is why I tell you, it's not over until it's over. It takes one game and suddenly you can find yourself fighting at that top 10 place. We do know, of course, there's a handful of duos that are still waiting. Where are these duos at? Have you guys spotted them out?
Well, again, really just trying to keep tabs on that 12th place position now, and it seems as though we're still not quite able to fully check off some of those duos that we mentioned a couple of times already. Jasik, User, Moo, Bacon. One more game, one more opportunity, and it's looking like a very tough uphill battle. But for Mahut Boy and Chris, they're golden.
You know, standings aside, I just want to go ahead and give a quick shout out to Peterbot and Aiden. Both of them had incredible 1v2s during that game that are very, very highlight worthy. So shout out to them for those plays.
Absolutely. This is it, Fortnite fam. The last game here from NA. And then that's it. We're done, all wrapped up. And the next stop is Grand Finals. We're expecting all the duos to step up right here, right now. Watch for those moments where they go head-to-head. When they're eliminated, that's it. Now we then look at the series point leaderboard and see which top 50 will move on. If you're ready, we are ready, and I'm sure your casters, Level 2K and Jacob PR, are ready as well.
Not only am I ready for this Game 6, I almost am ready for Grand Finals right now. It's unfortunate we do have to wait a week, but we still need some teams to punch
Look,
their
the week's gonna fly by, I promise you that. But what won't fly by is this final game for these players who are so close, who need this game to be the one that pushes them into the top 50 on the series point leaderboard. It's going to be the slowest, longest game of their lives if they inch closer and closer to the end game, because that's what it's going to be all about. We have been following them all throughout the day. We know their names, we know their points. We just need to see them solidify those placements and get into the right spots. And it's not going to be easy, Jacob. We've seen already today how hard these lobbies have been.
Yeah, it's definitely been grueling lobbies. It almost looks like any team at any moment can take the game and move up to the top of that leaderboard. And to me, that's exciting going into the Grand Finals and exciting going into this last game. And luckily for us, we do not have to wait long. Game number 6 starts right now.
The moment everybody has been waiting for. We've had 3 weeks of qualifiers here in NA, and every single one of them has shown us the talent in this region is unbelievable. And all players fighting for Grand Final spots, and these fights have began off spawn here at the Citadel all day long. We've seen this one go every which way. Havak and Rava have really done their best in a lot of these games to outdrop and pick up good weapons. That doesn't secure you, that doesn't guarantee you for your opponents are on point, but this time round, to close up the day, they will be the Citadel team.
Last bit of practice they're having, and change up that we saw last game is once again being solidified. Batman, Bugha, and Rapid claiming Kenjutsu as their own, pushing all those teams that were landing at that main building out altogether, forced into one another. You see Moo going down by Yamzo in the feed. Kanata's taken down a couple players as well. Even Clicks and Epic Well getting into the mix. With this being the last moment, you could see why people are getting active.
Bugha and Rapid might just be playing spoiler to Pate and Carty. They need this last game to be good enough to push them into top 50. Coming into this game, in terms of series points, they're sitting around 55th place. They have to survive off spawn, and they have to make it to the end game if they're to push their way into the top 50 right now.
Yeah, it kind of seeing what that position is. They need about a 29th place on the day, and he takes down Swexy. And look at that, Swexy, who was formerly landing over towards Slappy Shores, has switched up their drop, and you're seeing how desperate these players are getting. They don't want to have to play through that lower bracket and that last chance major.
As good as it is for Pate, it's also an awful situation for Swexy, because he's another example of a player who needs his last game to be absolutely massive if there's any hope of them playing in Grand. Batman, Bugha, and Rapid have something to say about it, for sure.
This is tough. Coming into this game, they were about 34th place. I just said estimated they need 29th. So this is literally a worst case scenario for Peyton Carty. Rapid and Batman Bugha have spotted him out once again with the return fire coming through. A missed shot with the Mammoth and a missed opportunity. Rapid quickly with the drum, tries to go ahead and put the hurting on, but a nice shot by Pate. That's going to allow him to create some distance between him and his lost team.
Run high, scatter off. The shots there so brutal. Needs to stay in this game. If he goes down here, you've got to think that might be the end of their FNCS Grand Finals hopes. Batman, Bugha, and Rapid have finished the job.
And for Peyton Carty, hopefully that was vital practice. They go again in that last chance major. You see Peterbot and Larson kind of what they've been doing all day long, going up against Tavern and Lawrence. More times than not, finding so much success. The few times that they split hasn't been too much trouble. Honestly, what are we doing here? He's taking them to a secret hideout?
Taking them on a trip. Wait a minute, what do we have here? Yomzo? Fighting at the Spire? Say it ain't so. Yomzo? Picking up a limbs at the Spire? Sounds about right.
And I saw that was Bacon that went down. I can only imagine, because of where they were positioned on the leaderboard, needing such a high placement on the day, they said, what are we going to do? Let's just land at one of the best spots on the map. If we somehow come out on top, all roads ahead will be great. They just get tagged up, just like Kix lost Vorteca not too long ago. And you can see that team in the minimap over towards Lonely Labs. They're not going to let that damage go to waste. Sacrificing some HP, whittling down Kix even more, making it that much easier for Penta to finish this fight rather quickly.
Yeah, this has been huge for Penta and Tex. The first couple of games were really rough. It looked like it wasn't going to really happen for them, but they fixed up, really fixed up, and their performances so far have pushed them into that top 50, and surviving off spawn again here will probably solidify it for them. If they can just make it somewhere deep into this game where they start picking up some placement points, it will be signed, sealed, and delivered. We'll probably see them in the grand finals next weekend, which is exactly what you want to see for them. Congratulations, of course, Bucky and Okis, though, who we've known are going to be in the grand finals for quite some time. Their performances in previous qualifying weeks is what solidified that. And the performances here today have been further proof of why they're deserving to be in that grand finals, Jacob.
Yeah, whether they go for the Rift Island or not, they know how to find that success. It's almost like they mastered just using the Rifts in general. When to take them, when not to, because you've seen in this game 2 different variations, instantly going towards the top and then staggering themselves behind everybody else as Pollo just takes a massive mammoth shot. Got to imagine that came from User at the top of that mountain, continuously putting down shots. Bucky feeling that same pain. And I think since they don't have all the resources in the world, all the material, Bucky and Okis might be betting for the disengage to come through, especially with the team already solidified their position high up. Gustavo and Ian, they were 5th place. They are 5th place coming into this game. See, they're getting hunted out by Acorn and Cold, and immediately things turn sideways. So 5th place they shall stand. As Acorn and Cold is trying to take back that prime form. We saw them win game number 1 on the day. Slowly but surely things have not gone their way. They're just hoping to kind of make up for it here in game 6. Bring that confidence into the grand finals. Batch and Pamstu over on the southern portion of the map. They land over towards Frenzy Field. You see them traveling on over to that Meadow Mansion. Vault does spawn here this game. There's already a couple of teams here, and even more so surrounding this position. So the third-party potential is always looming. Oh, this is smart. This is smart. They are farming Surge. I've never seen such a smart play come out of Booga and Threats. They lit the campfire, they're splashing the down body, and they're continuously racking up that Storm Surge. I feel like that's one of the first times we've seen them think that far outside of the box. As Pam and Fatch, they're stuck inside of the box, feeling the pressure from other angles. They realize how contested this spot is actually becoming.
Wild things happen in game 6, Jacob. Very wild things.
Still surprised they really figured out a way to farm Surge on a down body. Cost them some heals, so it's definitely one of those risk versus reward scenarios. It's Kinzo and Suki's. They're the ones who actually land at this location. They clean up OMG Me Too. The first of many players all around. Just trying to back players off.
How many teams are
They're
here?
the ones who try to claim it.
including the ones that just went down. Like, how many teams was that? Was that like 6 teams here or something?
Yeah, including the ones that disengaged, 6, maybe even as high as 7. You can see Zuki and Kinzo's more than doubled their points in their Game 5 victory, showing that they too have the potential to pop off at any moment and take over a lobby.
There just doesn't need to be 7 or 8 teams in Southwest Frenzy Fields in Zone 3. Like there just doesn't need to be that many teams there. That was interesting. Okay, well, like I said, crazy things happen in Game 6. Aviv?
Especially with the vault spawning over there.
Yeah, that's true. That is a fair point. Look, Aviv is having quite the performance, Jacob. He's actually broken a record set last week by Yomzo for most elims by a single player. Last week, Yomzo had 20 by himself. This week, Aviv has 23. So, going out with a bang in the qualifiers.
Big. These are the moments, like, you already have your spot secured, but they want to go ahead and continue to lay down that blueprint. No matter what obstacle they face, no matter what adversity gets tossed their way, they have what it takes to come out on top. And they've been doing so by landing it and pushing in different spots. And there's a huge race for first place because of it. And I'm going to go ahead and throw it over to Mini Miner to give us a clear picture of what that race looks like.
Yeah, there's only about 4 points in between first place and second place right now. It's so close. And of course, we have Aviv and Skittles leading the race at the moment. Of course, we saw Aviv. This is a player that has so many eliminations today. 23, which is the NA record for this entire chapter in a weekly final. So let's see if he can add to that tally in the rest of this game. And of course, come out on top as well. But just not too far behind is, of course, Kanada and Aegis. Every single one of these players in our top 2 teams is actually carrying a mammoth pistol, showing that these guys are really trying to be a little bit more aggressive, go for those tags, and potentially go for some higher eliminations in this last game. It's going to be exciting.
Definitely waiting for that excitement to pop off. We've already seen some throughout the course of the day. We've even seen a few hype moments in Game 6 so far. So that's just a taste of the potential. I'm excited.
Can we get the lovely statisticians in the back who help us out? Can we find out whether or not people who have won week 3 of the qualifier go on to win the finals? Is that a thing? I feel like it probably is, but I can't remember off the top of the head. Is that a thing? Is it bad luck? Is it good luck? I want to know. I do want to know.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting point. Threats. They already have a couple eliminations underneath their belt. They solidified even more. Imagine what their Storm Surge looks like because of the earlier farm that they set up as Pam. So just bouncing around, trying to enjoy the moment while he can, because he knows that end game is going to be rough, and for some, it's not going to be fun at all.
Possessed, waiting with the mammoth in hand. You know exactly what his intention is here. Let's see whether someone will give him the chance, though. Fachi looks like he will, but unfortunately, Possessed missed.
Yeah, missed opportunity there for Possessed to kind of start this fight with a lead. And now it's actually Zuko who gets tagged up just a little bit, about 50 shield, maybe even a little bit more. Drained right there. The high ground's taken by Possessed. He's trying to put down some supporting fire and back down Pamso as everybody is trying to quickly maneuver into this position. Pamso and Fatch trying to take advantage of Zuko being here by himself, but he gets caught off guard. A huge shot being landed right behind. Pamso still fighting for a lot of these pieces. He goes up. He boxes him up as well, but Pam goes down. A huge offensive maneuver by Possessed to drop him on his head.
Making up for missing the mammoth shot, right?
Yeah, a little bit. It's not over just yet. Still a 1v2. And a huge opportunity for Fatch, especially with a shot like that being fired. Slurp Juice is active. So mere seconds is all it's going to take for Possessed to be back up to tip-top shape and continue where he left off. Toying with the angles. Figure out exactly where Fatch is positioned at. Have to be careful. break through the covers too much as Fap's continuously trying to fight back, but it's he who takes the brunt of that damage. And with the double flapjack coming out, they're trying to burst through the builds, even getting the piece control. And then down goes Fatch. Him and Pamsu's run come to an end here in Game 6. Thought I saw on the feed both Rise and Yamzo go down. With how dominant they have been in a series of weeks, not just FNCS, but the Duo Cash Cups. A little bit of a surprising misstep here on the day, but that just leaves an opportunity for everybody else to scavenge together, get the points, get the loot that was once theirs as Rift Island appears. Okus is already there, trying to get the reboot back onto Bucky. In comes Bryce, in comes Chubb. Even Vert and Rokane maneuvering in this direction. Bucky trying to go back and scavenge together the loot that was once his. Spawn with nothing. Slurp juice being passed around as well. Now that we are in the zone, these players will be taking damage. Very minimal damage, but it's something that at least kind of pressures them in the back of their mind as somebody's trying to launch pad away using the elevation. Okus and Bucky just kind of return back to the loot that was theirs before. Kind of business as usual. Wow. Huge shot on Yamzo. See why he fell, how he fell. It's all off the back of Convict. So jump on backboard this fight. Bucky goes down. That's exactly what kind of cost him it all. But we know how that one continues. Bucky is back into the game and a chance for him to take first back.
Yamzo and Rise out of the competition then for today. And it doesn't look like it's going to be another first place to add to their tally. Either way, though, I still think going into the finals next weekend, they will be seen as the favorites, the team to watch. They have been in scintillating form all season long. I think that will be the case come Grands.
Yeah, I got to imagine with even more pressure on the line. How many teams will even try to contest them over on top of that Rift Island? They don't just try to contest. They built it as a part of their plan here in a lot of these games. You see them just a quick tap, tap, tap with the MK Alpha, trying to get the most accuracy, and it works out. They took down Rokane. Him and Vert, we saw them traveling through that Rift Island. Might think twice about it in finals. Farming up. Zone doesn't do too much damage at this stage in the game, especially with the heals that they've acquired from that Rift Island. They have the luxury of being able to kind of stagger themselves backside of zone. That slurp is a little bit of a miracle. Shots just continue to pour in from Mammoth, from the MK. Nobody really having an easy run, and that's Skittles and Aviv on the other side. Should have guessed. They've been putting pressure all over this lobby throughout the day, which is why they have that first place position on the leaderboard.
Absolutely just milking them for Surge there. It's not like Surge has been one of their worries so far today. It's been part of why they've been so good.
Ooh.
Interesting. So I've been answered here. Only once before in NA has the winner of the last qualifier won FNCS.
Okay. So it's possible. It's possible.
But a caveat, Jacob, is that actually only applies to NA East. Because remember, the new NA region, this is new. We ain't had many NAs, FNCSs, right? We've had NA East FNCSs, we've had NA West FNCSs, and that only applies to NA East. It has actually happened a bunch of times in NA West. But we don't talk about NA West, do we, Jacob? Unless it's you, because you talk about NA West all the time.
It's all I talk about, especially or not our shuttles, our rides. That's all I can seem to think about. Possess and Zuko, though, are going to have to think about how they're going to continue to move forward into the zone. Beeb doing a good job continuously putting that pressure down, but he lost Skittles. That is going to be the biggest detriment to his game plan, especially we're already in the 7th zone, so the chances of him being able to get him back into the game are almost slim to none. One of those tough positions for Aviv because he knows teams are not only on top of him, but are all around. He kind of has to wait here for them to rotate first, and then he slowly but surely follows in their same steps. Saw what first place looked like when it came to Aviv and Skittles. More so just Aviv because he's playing the rest of this one out as a solo. But second place, looking like they're in a much better spot in terms of Kanata and Agers. Slurp Juice, a gold Habit shotgun, and then even a Mammoth pistol. Kanata is one of the prominent players that kind of utilize it as a double pump as a bead. He's just taking so much damage, forced to the backside of zone. Big pot going to be used. Med kit probably shortly after. But no matter what happens here in terms of his heals, the potential to get one shot just like that will always be there. Not my fault.
Well then, if you want a preview for FNCS Grand Finals, that's it right there.
This one is going to get tricky because already you have drastically different elevations in this zone. And the potential to move in the surrounding area makes it that much more terrifying. So we're going to have to go down the mountain towards the outskirts of Mega City. For teams that might not be prepared, might not have a ton of resources to build, not going to have the most fun as Cold is just trying to get out, reposition himself because he doesn't have any heals, doesn't have a ton of builds. So he has to be very, very careful with every move that he makes.
If he gets both of these players here, I'm going to lose my mind.
I'm just thinking it's possible. It's definitely possible. It's Cold of all people. He already has 4 eliminations combined with Acorn, 7 as a team. 131 points. Peterbach playing a game of peekaboo to try to get some shots, some cheeky ones through as he steals away the covers. Split zone is going to begin to move, forcing these players into some action. Perfect rotation from Peterbot, barely even getting looked at on his way towards the zone. Climbed up, built some elevation, but just as soon as he gets there, he gets tagged up from the top, forced to expend his last Slurp Juice. But they've been playing so aggressive so far. They have 8 eliminations to their total.
Ooh, you almost had it, Cold.
Shield just getting dropped. Just a tough spot for Cold to be in. No heals, no builds. Pressure of the Flapjack. Stuck against the mountain. Does a good job of going up 1 layer, but with the builds running out, so does his time. He gets sent back to the lobby by Yumi and Source.
Yeah, it was only a matter of time, really, for him. Really tough game to be in, especially as a solo.
Not a toe-to-toe, box-to-box, right next to Clarity and Trashy. Both of these duos trying to fight for that front side of the zone. You can even see them going around right next to Kanata and Agers, trying to beat him there, but that's the same risky play because that's exactly what you have waiting for her. Quick reloads coming out from Kanata, making sure to stay in front of the zone. That's going to be the name of the game, and we're going over treacherous water.
Beautiful rotation for them, letting those guys rotate ahead as they move through the dead side. You see how many maps they're saving as well, just from being able to completely ignore one whole side of the zone as well, and avoid having to cover that side. But these are the 2 top dogs in the lobby right now. Bucky as a solo and Kanata and Agers as a duo. The duo, though, is looking more likely to be able to be that team that finishes the day in first, but Bucky will give them a run for their money for sure.
have. Talked about how much he loved to fight. He's very, very prominent when it comes to being able to clutch up by himself. Reed and Ritual, they're going to be the ones that claim the high ground for now. Agers takes a huge shot, but luckily has Kanata there. Kind of help on the defensive end. Hold on to his covers, put pressure back when needed as well, and they're just trying to break into the box. Whoever that is barely able to get out alive as Bucky's just scraping through on the low ground.
Brilliantly done, brilliantly executed across the board from all these different teams we see on our screens to put themselves ahead of all the rest of the lobbies, all the rest of the teams. But it does seem like as the zone gets smaller and smaller, they will start to collide. You see Bucky has the attention of the high team, but he's giving them a lot of issues right now. And Kanana and Aegis might just have their eyes set on him soon if they are not careful. He might have something for them. He has something for everyone, it seems, and the slurp juices will allow him to make some plays to keep himself in this game even longer.
Yep, Bucky running into trouble on the low ground, but doesn't even get touched in that moment. But the breachers cause too much. Down goes Bucky. But Ager's feeling a little bit of that same pain. He gets knocked by Yuumi. A great shot through the builds. Kanata, once again, clutching up big. All that loot being left behind. Ager's knows it's all up to him if they want a chance at that first place.
It's a slurp that was sitting there, so we'll see whether or not that comes back to bite him. Does have some mats to get his way into the zone. And there are still so many players left in this one for him to take some fights with. A bunch of solos in it. If he wants to drop down. Cooper below in this top, he's waiting for him. He knows someone's there. He sees him under the stair. But nobody going to be there just yet. The pressure from the high ground team just making it so awkward, so uncomfortable. And Kanata will finally been taken out. Clicks though, trying to make something happen in this final game. Epic falling. And so that duo will finally be out of it. And so now just a 1v1.
This is an opportunity for Miro to come out on top against Ree, and a perfect one pump takes him out. Cooper and Miro stand tall in our last game of the day. But there's still so many unanswered questions, Levin.
So many different teams have tried their best throughout 3 weeks of qualifiers, and it all comes to an end there with Cooper hitting that shot as we send our way to the grand finals of the FNCS. And big props to Cooper. As a solo, yes, there were plenty of other solos in this endgame, but he was the one that was just better than the rest. So many different limbs, 5 here, and then of course the 6th with that one onto Reet. Not too shabby at all for Cooper, but like you said, Jacob, it's about all these other teams we've been watching throughout the qualifiers. The questions are, who are the ones that made it? Who are the ones that will be playing in the grand finals? I've had an absolute blast casting NA with you over the past 3 weeks. I don't get to do it often, but every time I do, it's a lot of fun. Jacob, I can't wait to see who it is, but for now, let's send it back to Zeke and the analysts to break it all down one last time.
Thank you so much to 11-2K and, of course, Jacob PR, my best friend. Wow, 6 games in NA, and now we have to start tabulating the points. Now we have to take a look at the series point leaderboard and say who are the top 50 that will be moving on to grand finals next week. Before we get to that, I do want to talk about this game and, of course, the day overall. A massive congratulations to Miro and Cooper. Coming into this game, Miro and Cooper were actually 12th. So this Victory Royale paired up with the 7 elims that they picked up in this game, this could have massive implications on the standings themselves and hopefully the series point leaderboard.
Look, Cooper might be the mastermind as far as flipping a coin is concerned, but this was not really that much of a 50-50. He felt so smooth in these final moments, and doing it all as a solo is probably one of the more impressive facts about it.
You know, I feel like Cooper is so comfortable with making those storm plays. You know, one of the first times I tuned into his stream, he made like a call to wrap around the mountain and go on the storm. And I was like, you know what? I really like that call. And then right there, he pretty much makes the game-winning play by going out into the storm and getting the flank on the Kanata and Epic whilst they were fighting. So shout out to Cooper. He's clearly a smart individual.
Hey, evolve the play, right? It could lead to a Victory Royale, and as proven, it happened here today. Let's take a look. The final set of standings are ready for us. Who walked away in that #1 spot on the day? It is Agers and Kanata in a photo finish. After that final game, we saw this duo only coming down to a single one of them, and they did manage to even find 2 eliminations in the process, and it was enough to take over that number 1 spot.
Especially when you factor in that Aegis and Kanata, they didn't even have a single bit of objective points to their name here today. All of this was on the back of eliminations and really consistent placements, but it's the consistency in their placements that's stemming from the fact that they are just playing outside of their drop spot at Drift Bridge so well. They've really done an excellent job at maintaining their Storm Surge, and the way that they were taking up some of these box fights was very strong and very cohesive as well. Did a really good job in this last game too of staying together when challenging these boxes.
Yeah, I mean, hot off a second place in a Cash Cup, coming out to win week 3 here of the major. I mean, they're looking very, very good. And like Taco mentioned a bunch right there, it's pretty much just how consistent they are in every single game. And me and Zeke talked about it earlier as well. I mean, it doesn't really seem like they're going for any like highlight reel plays. They're not relying on some crazy clutches. It's just solid play throughout. And that's why, I mean, coming in the grand finals, I think they're looking good.
I think that is... So remember, as we kind of been talking about it a lot, and maybe you're just tuning in, maybe you're just, hopping off work, you want to watch some Fortnite, welcome. I'm sorry you missed it, go back and watch it, but a lot of the duos we've talked about today are already in grand finals, right? So imagine we're 1 week in the future. At the end of this would have been it. Aegis and Kanata would have won. So if they come out here, week number 3 in that first place, because again, so many of these duos are in grand finals, I have to feel like they could translate this to grand finals. However, remember, many duos are still keeping a couple strats close to the vest, close to the chest. That's fine. But this is a strong showing as we prepare ourselves for grand finals.
Hey, every bit of practice counts, and for Bucky and Okus, that's definitely going to be a strong narrative for them because, as Vivid pointed out earlier, Okus is going to be stepping away, and with Grants just around the corner now for this duo, getting in some much-needed practice here today, taking every single game seriously, that was evident from how Bucky and Okus managed to finalize a second-place performance.
Yeah, I mean, I really like the strategy of them pretty much just hanging around by some of those rift spawns, waiting for Rift Island to go ahead and actually spawn. And they always just rift onto the Rift Island, and it's something that everybody is going to be aware of. So the fact that they have already kind of like implemented this in everybody's minds going into grand finals, it's something that, they are very, very confident in and that other players are going to have to be aware of. And I really like how they were looking for some high ground takes throughout the day. They didn't necessarily have it and it wasn't very convincing, but the idea of them looking for it and trying to build up means that when it comes to grand finals and there's going to be 12 games, I can almost guarantee you at least one of those games we'll see them on the high ground.
Absolutely, and I think a duo that really stood out to me today, Aviv and Skittles. When I am thinking about these duos, now remember, Aviv and Skittles, they're like top 20 on the series point leaderboard, so they already had their spot in grand finals. But again, this is practice. Aviv today went absolutely nuclear. He was wild, man. Coming down to that solo performance just a game ago where it was just him. And he said, doesn't matter. I'm going to find 10 eliminations. I'm going to end the game in top 10. If they could have a repeat of this, if both of them could be alive in grand finals, this is a fearsome duo.
Would say I would imagine it to be a little bit more difficult because even looking at the leaderboards, you could tell one of these teams is not like the other, and that was Aviv and Skittles as far as their elimination scoreline was concerned. 37 elims is impressive, to say the least. But when it comes to a grand final set lobby, I wouldn't anticipate a team to have as easy of an accomplishment with those 37 elims, but still just a lot of potential clearly with this duo.
Yeah, and one specific strategy that ended up working out one game very, very clearly, but I still saw them look for it in other games, which is why I'm actually so excited for grand finals for this duo, is the fact that they seem to kind of revert back to something that we've seen a lot before, which is going to the front side of moving zone and looking back towards high ground. Of course, we saw them get their VR using that strategy today, but again, like I mentioned, I saw them continuously look for it, so the fact that they have that established strategy gives me high hopes for their grand finals performance.
Absolutely. In a final duo, I just wanted to call it, of course, Iamzo and Rise. A phenomenal showing, placing fourth today. Remember, these guys are looking for their spot, the Global Championships. Next week, we will have eyes on this duo and see if they could get this run back on the performance. There's a lot more spots next week. It could happen. They just have to keep that momentum going.
Of course, it almost felt like for Yamzo and Rise, they kind of just came out swinging, wanted to let everybody know, hey, look, we're going to take a little bit easier since you guys know that we're already secured, but getting those back-to-back second-place finishes earlier on, while they didn't get a Victory Royale, still a good standing.
Yeah, I mean, in the weeks, first, and fourth, not bad. Rise already his socials, says he's not feeling good about this performance, so we'll have to see if that affects that grand finals.
Wow. Well, hey, look, practice makes perfect. Take a week, take a step back, come in stronger for the grand finals. Now, as our favorite thing to do, well, mine is to talk to our players in our community. We have the winner coming out of this week. Of course, it's Kanata. Kanata, man, we talk way too much. Look, I'm just going to get an extra box, okay? And we can just put you in that box, and then you can just be with us all the time. You're just a permanent fixture now. Man, so how's it feel? How's it feel? Yet again, another W.
It feels really good, like putting in that hard work, fog reviewing, making sure that I don't make a lot of mistakes, making sure that I perfect my gameplay. And seeing that it pays off, it really does feel good. It feels really good.
Yeah, and one thing I've noticed with you, Kanata, is that you've really been going ham in terms of the stream content in particular. And so what has that been like as far as impacting you as a player mentally or just like in-game? Because do you ever feel yourself wanting to get a little bit more flashy with it, knowing that you're like streaming every single moment?
I would say like streaming actually makes me play a lot better because I know that I want to be showing my viewers the best content, which is like getting into endgame, of course. I don't want to be doing anything that will get me eliminated in the game, and I want to make sure that while I'm playing that I show my stream the best side of me, right? And then so far it's looking really good.
Yeah, I just want to give my big congrats. You know, we talked in week 2. You guys mentioned that you were switching up the Storm Surge strategy. It's very, very clearly working, and I think you guys were one of the most consistent duos by far today. But I think the biggest question of all is going to be, will you be streaming Grand Finals then?
100%. I'm going to be doing a stream. I'm 100% streaming Grand Finals.
Oh.
I'll probably be one of the only duos streaming it. Besides, I think Bucky's going to be streaming it, but also I want to be... I have a delay on, of course, because I don't want any mishaps happening ever again. You know what I'm saying?
Kanata, I feel like it's not a secret that you are, someone at the top, and for so many Fortnite players, especially let's say like this next generation, they're looking at you and they're just thinking, man, I would love to emulate Kanata. What is just maybe like a piece of advice that you could give to people that are trying to compete at the level that you're just make it again look easy?
I would definitely say, first, you definitely need a drop spot, because in high, like tier 1 pros, tier 2 pros, you need to make sure that you have an uncon drop spot. That is #1 rule in any finals lobby. And making sure with that uncon drop spot, you know everything about it. And I would say drop spot can always carry a player, even though they're not as good as they seem. If they have enough the good loot and they have the good rotations, you don't need to be mechanically fast. You don't need to have the best aim. But if you really have that game sense, you could easily carry yourself with your spot to get an easy top finish in a grand final.
I love to hear it. Kanata, I'm going to ask you this question. I feel like I know what the answer is going to be, and that's okay if you give me that answer. What can you reveal? Grand finals. Is there anything? Is there any little snippet you could tell us? You don't have to tell me the whole thing. Just a morsel.
Let's just say that Deagle, the new pistol, let's just say that I'm going to be carrying it every single game. That's my little snippet.
I'm down. I'm down. Well, Kanata, if there's some reason someone doesn't know who you are, they need to go find you. They need to go follow you. Where can they do that?
At Kanata on Twitter, Kanata_ on Twitch, and Kanata on YouTube. That's it. That's all me, baby.
There you go, man. As always, we appreciate you being around. Of course, I'm going to find a way to make that box for you so you can just be here a permanent fixture. Man, best of luck in Grand Finals next week. We can't wait to see how you guys perform.
Thank you. Going to you guys casting too.
What a nice guy.
What a nice guy that
I like how he kept it humble there on your question too, Zeke. When you asked him about like, hey, what are some things, like, what's your piece of advice? And he could have just said, no, just watch my stream, because I think it's clear that he is definitely showcasing some high tier gameplay.
It's the way Taco thinks. That's what we have just found out.
Absolutely. Again, many duos have showed up here today, and they're all looking to put points on that series point leaderboard, because remember, next week is Grand Finals. From there, we're looking to move an additional set of duos into the Global Championships. So if you've enjoyed the play you've seen today, next week will absolutely be a time to come back to watch, and of course to cheer on some of your favorite duos, support them, be with them in the highs and the lows. It has been a fantastic weekend for you guys. What have you guys taken away from today?
Honestly, it's just been awesome seeing our teams that we now have solidified heading into the grand finals, and kind of just seeing that the vibes all around are pretty high for the pros. Everybody's just seems so locked in now and so focused on what's next.
You know, I feel like we've seen actually a lot of the teams adapt. We've broken it down many times. We keep talking about how Yamzo and Rise, their strategy is very, very heavily based around, getting the full and then going for the caches. They basically end up dropping their MKs. They have the flapjack rifles going into the end game. And I feel like a lot of teams actually learned from that this week, because I feel like we saw a lot more pressure instances in those end games where a lot more teams just happen to have that flapjack rifle. So that might be something that players now have to counter prepare for, where it's whoa, there's a lot more pressure going on in these end games now. How can we combat that?
Man, you guys just have me so excited for next weekend, the grand finals, and I want to talk more about it. There's more things I want to ask you guys, but I'll save that for next weekend. For now, I'm getting word we have this series point leaderboard, so let's take a look. We'll take a look at our top 1 through 10 just to see who those front runners are after the day has concluded. Of course, Iamzo and Rise, Agers and Kanata, who we just got to talk to. Again, many names you've seen competing today over the last few weeks. And again, I think for me, a standout has got to be Aviv and Skittles. I want to see Aviv bring more of that heat. To Taco's point, Grand Finals going to be a little different. So we may not see 10 elimination solo performances, but I'm still excited to see them perform. Is there a duo on this top 10 you guys are looking forward to seeing?
It should be a pretty exciting time with Poyo and Sphinx. I think that's definitely, I don't even want to consider them a dark horse necessarily, because they feel like a team that definitely has a lot of capability in terms of some big surprises in grands.
I'm always somebody who loves to see consistent strategies. Teams replicate them, right, and take full advantage of those strategies and have them work out. For me, I'm going to be looking towards Yamzo and Rise when it comes to low ground domination. Bucky and Okus love the fact that the Rift Island, that mid-match objective 15 points is kind of like their goal. And then Aviv and Skittles, for the first time this week, they showed me that they have that, hey, let's go to the front side of moving zone during those late end games where we usually don't see many teams go for high ground, and let's apply pressure to those teams that are up there. So I think just mentioning those couple of teams right there, we are set forth for a phenomenal grand final.
Oh, you guys gotta calm down. Stop hyping me up right now. I'm getting too excited. Okay, let's look at 41st through 50th, and we'll see which duos happen to just make it in there at the very end. A couple names here we are seeing. Look at this, Chris and Mudhut Boy. This is actually who I was wanting to call out. Remember, they needed to end the day in a top 36 or higher to make it in, and for the duo, they did just that, finding themselves in that 42nd place, solidifying the fact that they are a grand finals team.
And hey, don't get me wrong, managing to clinch up and make it into the grand finals lobby, always a huge accomplishment, but job's not finished, and all of these teams are aware of that. Now it's eyes locked fully onto performing in grands.
Yeah, and hey, listen, I'm happy to see Bala and NPen make it in. NPen, great personality, and G-Money as well.
Yeah.
We've seen a couple of highlights from him. Love that guy, so I'm excited to see them. And then clutching it up, 50th place, going to be 20 and Pledge. I know 20 was a little nervous on the social, so I'm happy to see that they actually went ahead and clutched up and made it in.
Absolutely. Now, we turn to Heartbreak. We see 51st through 60th. Which duos barely missed out? I know. I'm so sorry. A couple duos here, Quanti and Chip there in that last place, just missing out. We were looking, though, 815 points was right around what we kind of were guessing it was going to be. So definitely steep competition. But for these duos, one thing remains, the last chance major.
Of course, can never really count anybody out as far as qualing to the global championship is concerned. But Grand's right around the corner. Last chance major. I mean, it's still fun to be a participant for. But yeah, that last chance major is definitely impactful.
Yeah, LCM is huge. Grand Finals is huge. Top 10 on NA, top 10 on EU. We'll be going to Globals. I mean, Zeke, I cannot wait to actually go through it next weekend, right? And then on Sunday, we just have so many more teams going to Globals. We're almost going to have that thing filled out.
Dude, it's not that far away. It's wild to think we've been doing this for almost this entire year, and now we are so close to what we've all been waiting for, the Global Championships, that last stop. Man, if you've enjoyed everything you've seen here and you want to keep up, you want to watch more, when are we back? Again, that is next weekend. We can take a look at our broadcast schedule. So, again, just 2 key dates for you here. The first being August 12th and 13th. That's when we're holding our grand finals. We'll have 2 days of Fortnite action. We'll broadcast NA and EU. 2 days? Come on. And, of course, the last chance major for us in NA. That's looking at August 20th. Remember, that's it. The last chance before Global Championships. With all that being said, we just want to thank you all so much for hanging out with us, for being part of this. Next week is Grand Finals. Now, of course, if you're thinking Global Championships, are there still tickets, Zeke? Let me answer your question with a video. This is the Global Championship.
The best players in the world all battling it out.
Insane matches already today.
These are the moments that make these players championship material.
One chance to make it happen, and they take it by force.
It is going to be absolutely insane.
So, hey, listen, if you want to go to Global Championships, it's going down. Tickets are available. Come join us. We're going to watch all 6 regions come together. It is going to be absolutely insane. I know, yeah. I say it in the video, but I mean, like, legit, it's going to be insane.
Are you trying to get me to? Is this like a trap right now?
It's not.
For my okay.
Go ahead. We'll wait, Taco. Go ahead.
We'll wait.
No, I think it's good. I think these teams know what they got to do. They got to take it by force.
There it is. There it is. And it's going to be a great time, of course. As we said, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. That wraps up the weekend show for now. Next weekend, we'll be back. More Fortnite. Global Championships not that far away. But first, the Grand Finals. As always, thanks to our fantastic casters. We got 112K Jacob PR. We had our mid-game analyst, Mini Miner. And, of course, these 2 incredible human beings being our analysts for today. As always, we hope you have a fantastic week. We'll see you next weekend. And as always, we love you. We'll see you on that battle bus. Take care.